The prosecutor got up, and she had never lost a case before, and very, very full of herself, went on to be a judge, relatively controversial judge because of her conservative nature. And she started making a pretty good argument, and she had a lot of demonstrative aids. It was back during the time when you didn't have the electronic aids, and PowerPoint wasn't heard of at that stage. So I knew that she was about to hit her stride and get into all these demonstrative aids, and there was a lot that she was going to get into. And it was a case that was, it wasn't a great case to try, but obviously, you're doing the best you can. But then something came over her as though she had a bit of stage fright, which is kind of strange because she had tried so many cases and she was so proud of her skills. And she said, I'm going to get back up in a minute and I'm going to go through the rest of what I want you to know, and shut down. And I said immediately, without hesitation, Judge, we waive our closing. And the judge, as though he was in on it ahead of time, directly moved into jury instructions. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the arguments of counsel or Mr. Barnes waiver, whatever. Now I'm going to tell you what the law is on this case. And I looked over, and she was ashen. It was as though she wanted to get up and give the rest of her closing, but she was disclosed to do that because, again, it's supposed to be purely rebuttal. And he went on and gave the jury instructions, and then the jury went out. And they came back, and I explained to my client what I had done. I perhaps should have asked his permission before I did it, but it wouldn't have come off quite as good, I don't think. And maybe he would have talked me out of it. At any rate, came back a guilty verdict, sadly, as it were. And I look over at her. Now, at this point, she had another lawyer from the prosecutor's office sitting with her. I don't think he was there for the whole thing. And they were actually embracing to some degree. It was more than a handshake, hugging each other, and they were already in celebration mode. And there was a 19-year-old kid on the jury, and I thought he was what we call a seat warmer. Some people, when they get on a jury, you just think they're not going to be all that consequential with regard to the verdict, not carry as much weight as others. Of course, you never know about any of these people, really. And he raised his hand, and he said, Your Honor, I'm the foreman, and I circled the wrong box on the verdict form. We actually found him not guilty. And she and this other lawyer, he male, she obviously female, they broke their embrace as though they were two paramours that had just been caught by their respective spouses. And the judge said, Mr. Barnes, I assume you want me to poll the jury, which is the proper way to do it at that point. I said, yes, I do. And he went down and asked each if the guilty verdict was a true verdict individually and as a whole, and they all said no. He sent them back in to deliberate further. Again, that's what the rules call for. And they came back 30 seconds later and handed over the verdict form, and the clerk reread it to not guilty. So, pretty cool.